Pennsylvania. I'm Craig Jahelka reporting from the Bloomsburg Fair. As many of you know, this is the largest event to take place each year in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. It attracts families from all over our area, as well as New York, New Jersey, and even Ohio. Did you know that on a single day, as many as 90,000 people like these folks here could come to the Bloomsburg Fair? And because so many of you come to the Bloomsburg Fair each year, we thought we'd take this next half hour to show you some of the things you may never have seen before. Who come here for the entertainment, for the food and the fun, those who make a living from the Bloomsburg Fair. We'll also examine how the drought has affected farmers here and the fair itself, and also show you something you may never have seen before, how the fair turns into a mini-city. But as I said, when there are this many people here at the fair, as many as 90,000 in one day, you have to realize the Bloomsburg Fair can be big business. It's amazing how much money changes hands here at the Bloomsburg Fair, thousands of dollars every minute. People like Gary and Kim Johnson travel from Dickson City. How much will they spend in a day?
I would say anywhere from $50 or $100, depending if we go in some of these stands where they're selling items where you might take something home for $20 or $30.
And Kim, what would you spend it on besides that? Anything special?
Probably basically food. There's a lot of different food concessions, and everyone likes to eat.
That's exactly what the Johnson family from Millville counts on. You see, they've been running this food stand here at the fair for the past 16 years. 8 members of the Johnson family and 15 other people they hire will slice and serve 4.5 tons of beef for sandwiches this week. Every single one brings in $3.50.
We handle a lot of money. We break it up. It gets broke down so many ways. All the kids get money and all the help, but I guess you could say we look forward to it for some money.
I guess so, especially when you consider the amount of money that changes hands here at the Bloomsburg Fair. The Fair Association estimates that during the 8 days of this event, $20 million will change hands. But obviously, not all of that money is spent right here on the fairgrounds. Case in point, this mini-market a few blocks away. It, like many businesses in the area, will sell more things to more people during the fair than during a regular week. And that all translates into more profit.
A lot of people before the fair starts comes over here and they get their setup equipment, their bleach, what they use to clean the rides. They get sandwiches, they get personal items, and it all helps.
What about fair goers? Do they stop by for gas or anything?
A lot of people stop by for gas. They get their cigarettes. They get their last-minute munchies to take into the grandstand because it costs so much at the fairgrounds.
And then there's the economic impact that's difficult, if not impossible, to gauge. Scores of families turn their yards into parking lots for Fair Week, at a price, of course. This is the 7th year Betty Kressler's parked people at the house she owns, charging $3 a car. How much money you suppose you'll take in during the week here?
Well, that depends. It'll depend on weather, okay? Someday you'll have a good day, and in a week's time, I've made like $300-400, and if it's like this, you don't.
Of course, it didn't rain during the entire fair. On days like this, a lot of people came out, and other people made money. Here, Mary Lou Musselman, now you sell milkshakes here at the fair, and you're from Buckhorn. How has business been this week?
Real good, except rainy days, a little slow, otherwise great.
But all in all, people are buying milkshakes.
Oh, definitely. They're the best on the grounds.
All right, thank you, Mary Lou. But it's one thing to sell a milkshake for $1.50, and quite another thing to try to sell a heavy piece of equipment that sells for several $1,000s in the time of a recession. For an example, here's Newswatch 16's Fred Lettieri.
It's no secret that people and their money soon part company at the Bloomsburg Fair. Judging by how busy vendors are, you may never know the economy is still in a recession. People who sell food and clothes and trinkets will do pretty well during Fair Week despite the economy. But that's not the story for the people here in Bloomsburg who try to sell those big-ticket items.
The impression I get is that they're a little scared, and there's a certain amount of uncertainty that goes with that.
Fred Lawal does not expect to sell any campers at the fair. People are hesitant. The line he hears the most is, just browsing. Wayne Wyant must talk to those same customers. That's the same thing he hears when trying to sell farm equipment.
Well, actually, I guess nothing works. We present the product, and if they're in need of it and can come up with the money, they'll go ahead and buy.
This is Wayne's 30th year at the fair, and he can never remember the economy scaring away so many potential customers. Customers like Lenny Burger. He runs a small farm in Drums.
Well, just looking. Mainly with the dry weather, though. You don't want to spend any money you don't have yet. maybe get a better season next year.
That's exactly what a lot of vendors are hoping for. This year, they fear they'll be lucky to have a fair year at the fair.
And on any day of the week, you're going to find a lot of kids here at the Bloomsburg Fair, but they're not playing hooky. You see, so many kids come to the Bloomsburg Fair each year that a lot of the local school districts give the kids the week off. And you know, a big part of this fair involves children. These are all displays from area high schools. And a lot of the kids who make these displays now work here at the Bloomsburg Fair to try to make a couple of extra dollars. But this year, as Newswatch 16's Jill Ross tells us, fair vendors are making sure they don't hire anyone under 16 years of age.
Of the thousands of people working at the Bloomsburg Fair this year, it's hard to find kids of minimum legal working age, 14 or 15 years old.
If a kid is 14 or 15 years old and wants to work here at the fair, they can do that, but they have to have working papers. It's the law. But you know, over the years, it's been a tradition to work here at the fair, and a lot of times working papers have been overlooked.
They didn't need them before.
Some of these kids couldn't get jobs because they didn't have working papers. They tell me their school never told them. And when they looked for jobs, employers were very strict.
I wanted a job and everything, because, like, for money, you know, for school clothes. But when I went around, they're like, are you sure you're 14? I'm like, yeah.
Here at Dave's gyro stand, the owner decided not to hire anyone under 16 years old. He was afraid if the kids didn't have papers, he would be fined. But that decision hurt the business.
Well, we just tried to stay away from youngsters because of this problem, but that's the only ones that seem to want to work at the fair. It's hard to get older people to come down and work.
There are limits on how many hours a 14 or 15-year-old can work during the school year, but Bloomsburg schools are closed during the fair. That's why the man in charge of concessions thinks there should be a working paper exemption for the fair.
And some of the kids who are now older, they never had to have papers. And their smaller sisters and brothers are coming down for jobs. The vendors are scared to death to hire them this year.
Next year, kids who want to work at the fair should make sure they have working papers. And vendors should make sure they only hire kids who have them. Jill Ross, Newswatch 16, Bloomsburg.
Here's a bird's eye view of the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds. Take a look at just how big it is here. And do you realize that every day as many as 2,000 people become lost, separated from their loved ones? Well, believe it or not, even here at the fair, they've come up with a way to reunite people. When you consider the fact that as many as 90,000 people a day come to the Bloomsburg Fair, imagine what it would be like if you became separated from your mother or father, or perhaps even your brother or sister. Try to imagine walking through this sea of people having absolutely no idea where they might be, looking this way and that, turning, trying frantically. What do? It's simple. You go to the Lost Child Center here at the Bloomsburg Fair. The center is located inside this building. This building's easy to find. Just look for the big word horticultural. It's the Horticultural Center, and it's found right off the midway, right in the center of the fairgrounds. And inside, there are people to help you if you get into trouble. Dennis Starr sits in front of a microphone and announces the names of lost people.
Your attention, please. Effort. Please report to the Lost Child Center.
We page for almost anybody here, from older people to younger people, kids that get separated. They may go in one side of the bathroom and leave another door, and bingo, you're lost.
As a matter of fact, we were just passing, and I was just looking at it and thinking.
Thinking what?
I wouldn't want to lose them, but if I did, at least there's somewhere I can come, and I know somebody would bring them here.
Sometimes you find those lost kids here at the petting zoo. Well, still ahead on Newswatch 16 from the fair, we'll take a look at how this summer's drought has affected both farmers and their livestock.
Newswatch 16 at the Bloomsburg Fair is brought to you by Bastion Tire Sales. At Bastion's, you're riding on our good name. Bastion Tire Sales in Bloomsburg, Shamokin Dam, and Williamsport. And by the 1991 Bloomsburg Fair Board.
Bastion Tire Sales, your complete car care center, reminds you that it's time to get the car tuned up and ready for fall. That's why our skilled mechanics are ready to provide you with the best quality car care service. Bastion's is also your authorized dealer for the complete line of Michelin tires. The XA4 is a premium high-mileage tire that gives you a quiet, comfortable ride with superb traction. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. And Bastion's, because you're riding on our good name.
Bastion Tire Sales behind McGee's Main Street in Bloomsburg. The 1991 Bloomsburg Fair Board would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the patrons whose hard work and dedication made this, the 137th annual Bloomsburg Fair, a success. We would also like to thank the more than 604,000 visitors to this year's fair. Your continued support makes the Bloomsburg Fair the biggest and best in all of Pennsylvania every year. Again, the 1991 Bloomsburg Fair Board thanks everyone and looks forward to seeing and working with you again next year.
Friendly's introduces 5 new ways to say, There's this way. And that way. Ooh. Yeah. Either way, your chicken sandwich comes with a free tin roof sundae. Just open wide and say, Free tin roof sundae with any chicken sandwich at Friendly's.
Fries for dinner. Great, dinosaurs for dinner. Dinosaurs eating their dinner.
McCain Dinosaurs and Things makes mealtime a good time.
McCain introduces an offer you won't want to turn down. A stereo cassette, custom made with your selection of songs from the hit list found on specially marked packages of McCain. The French fries that crank up the crunch.
Agriculture is also a very big part of the Bloomsburg Fair. I'm here at the pig barn where farmers come to show off their livestock. Well, as you know, this has been a very difficult summer for area farmers because, well, now, as Newswatch 16's Fred Lettieri tells us, a lot...
You will not find any fair, but some farmers plan to part company with their animals for the right price. This year, they just cannot afford to keep them.
I buy and sell cattle myself, and I have a lot of calls on herds that are for sale.
This year has been especially tough on dairy farmers. Not only are milk prices down, but because of the drought, a lot of farmers have to spend more money on hay and corn.
It's a double whammy.
So Jan Gerbula, a dairy farmer from Columbia County, finds herself holding on to her cattle a little longer than she normally does. Jan hopes to get as much milk as possible from them. As for the rest...
And anything that is milked off will go on to the auction for beef to compensate for the loss in the milk price.
Farmers tell me they would prefer not to sell their animals, but many feel they have no choice. If they do not sell them, they probably will not have enough money to pay their bills.
But I think you'll find particularly a lot of your younger farmers is going to be in big trouble because of the reason they don't have the reserve, the cash reserve.
Unless milk prices begin to climb, farmers tell me not only will they be forced to sell their cattle, some feel they'll end up selling their farms as well. Fred Lettieri, Newswatch 16, Bloomsburg.
There's one other aspect of the drought this summer. It means that farmers aren't harvesting as many feed crops like the hay this horse is eating. And while this big fella's in real good shape as far as his health goes, Newswatch 16's Jeff Scott has found here at the Bloomsburg Fair a lot of the cattle aren't doing so well this year.
Farmer Karen Schultz of Danville is proud of the cattle she's brought to the Bloomsburg Fair this year. But for Schultz and other dairy farmers here, it hasn't been easy keeping the cows healthy this year. The drought has left many with little homegrown feed to harvest.
There's no rain, it just didn't grow at all. It's just down so much. Yeah, our barns are about half empty, really.
Cattle farmer Pat Kitchen is the veterinarian here at the fair. She makes the rounds every morning. While most of the cattle here is healthy, the vet says she's been seeing a lot of unhealthy cattle outside the fair. Because many farmers can't afford to buy feed, they're mixing more and more hay with the little alfalfa and corn feed they do have. But that's not good.
Sudden changes of feed for especially dairy cattle is a real problem. The rumen, or one of the 4 stomachs in the cow, is used to eating one type of feed, a forage. And if you suddenly change that forage, the animal will go off feed, get digestive upsets, possible twisted stomachs.
Illness also cuts down on milk production at a time when farmers are already hit hard with low milk prices. While veterinarians say it's best for farmers to buy good feed or change it more gradually, they admit in these tough economic times for farmers, that's not easy.
They feed what they can, what they have available.
Those farmers who haven't had to change their feed admit they probably will by winter as their corn feed starts to run out. They know they're taking a chance, but they say they really Bloomsburg Fair.
There's a lot more available here at the Bloomsburg Fair, too. When we come back, we'll show you how this place takes on a whole different atmosphere at night. And Nolan Johannes will sit down to have a delicious meal with some very special people as Newswatch 16 at the fair continues.
The 1991 Bloomsburg Fair Board would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the patrons whose hard work and dedication made this, the 137th annual Bloomsburg Fair, a success. We would also like to thank the more than 604,000 visitors to this year's fair. Your continued support makes the Bloomsburg Fair the biggest and best in all of Pennsylvania every year. Again, the 1991 Bloomsburg Fair Board thanks everyone and looks forward to seeing and working with you again next year.
Bastion Tire Sales, your complete car care center, reminds you that it's time to get the car tuned up and ready for fall. That's why our skilled mechanics are ready to provide you with the best quality car care service. Bastions is also your authorized dealer for the complete line of Michelin tires. The XA4 is a premium high-mileage tire that gives you a quiet, comfortable ride with superb traction. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. And Bastions, because you're riding on our good name.
Bastion Tire Sales behind McGee's Main Street in Bloomsburg.
Tired of hearing about what you can't eat? Bite into a healthy slice of life. McCain Helios presents a new kind of pizza. Healthy slices, 97% fat-free and low in cholesterol. So don't say no. Bite into a healthy slice of life. Mozzarella cheese, delicious tomato sauce, mushrooms, broccoli, peppers, good green veggies. Don't wait. Bite into a healthy slice of life. McCain Helios new Healthy Slices Pizza from McCain.
When you think about it, the Bloomsburg Fair operates like a mini city, complete with traffic cops to make sure people don't get in the way of the horses, and even its own street signs so you can tell where you are. But like any real city, the Bloomsburg Fair also makes improvements each year to try to make things flow a little more smoothly. And as Newswatch 16's Marisa Burke reports, this year, the big improvement is in the lighting.
At a certain time of night, these 1,500-watt light bulbs turn on and light up areas of the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds. It was light the fair did not have last year. The Bloomsburg Fair spent over $100,000 this past year on new lighting.
As you see the lights go on at nighttime, you'll know why we had to spend that kind of money. There are probably hundreds of thousands of light bulbs on this fairground, and plus we have all the irons, and we have a lot of things which we draw power on.
The new lighting obviously helps vendors see better, but it's primarily for safety, to help people see where they are walking. The new lighting is also for emergencies. You see the big bulbs that are not lit up? They would go on if the power suddenly went out. Supplying electricity and lighting to the Bloomsburg Fair is very serious business. I'm about 5'2". Take a look at the transformers behind me and you can see how big they are compared to my height. These transformers supply electricity just to the rides alone. In the past few years, the Bloomsburg Fair has spent $250,000 replacing wiring to rides, buildings, and concession stands. And new wiring was installed when new lights went online. This light is new, and so are these around the grandstand. Did you notice the new lights here at the fair?
Sure did. Lightened it up quite a bit.
Did you notice the new lights here at the fair?
No, I really didn't.
The people who run this food stand haven't noticed either, but they agree that new lighting here means better safety.
To our help, it's very important because we have some of them that come in at 4:30 in the morning and walk from up in Bloomsburg down here to this end of town.
Perhaps the most noticeable addition to the lighting at the fair has nothing to do with safety, but the American flag behind the grandstand is now lit up for all to see at night. The electrical people say eventually they would like to see new lights at all the fairground gates. But for now, they are proud of the fact they've come a long way in shedding new light on the Bloomsburg Fair. Marisa Burke, Newswatch 16 in Bloomsburg.
You know, you can go to any one of hundreds of stands like this at the Bloomsburg Fair for cotton candy or hot sausage sandwiches, anything you want. But there are places you can go and have sit-down dinners. And Newswatch 16's Nolan Johannes did that the other night with a group of folks who've been at the fair for years.
Feeding fairgoers is a real tradition for one church congregation in our area. For over 70 years, the Catawissa Reformed Church, now known as St. John's United Church of Christ, has served meals to people at the fair. And for the church of 170 members, it's the main way they can keep their congregation going.
Yes, because the people have gotten older, their incomes are fixed, and Catawissa is not a growing community, and they must depend on hard work and public support to keep them going.
Most members have worked in their church-owned building, but perhaps none as faithfully as 75-year-old Irene Dreisbaugh. She hasn't missed a fair for 50 years.
Oh, yeah, we used to have a little bit of a wooden stand, and we put a tarp over the top, you know, so the rain wouldn't get in. And then we finally, the old people got together and built this place here, and we've had it ever since, right?
We've had a lot of good memories.
I can imagine.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot of fun.
Everybody keeps a smile on their face.
Oh, sure. Why not?
I mean, in that hot kitchen, it's fun?
Sure, it's fun. You have a lot of fun back there.
Back there in the kitchen, it's the men of the church who do the cooking, and they have a lot of fun doing it. But Bloomsburg fairgoers at $6 adults and $2.50 for hungry kids find family-style feeding at a table already set with corn, lima beans, pickles, and carrots, and bread. Then comes the plate, hot roast beef or pork, mashed potatoes and gravy, and, of course, apple pie. They go through 125 pies every day here, and Lord knows the shelter provided by the Catawissa Reformed Church building will bring in more customers in the days ahead at the Bloomsburg Fair. Nolan Johannes, Newswatch 16 at Bloomsburg.
Well, still ahead on Newswatch 16 at the Bloomsburg Fair, we'll show you some of the fun you can have, and we'll take aim and fire with something just a little bit different when we come back.
At the Bloomsburg Fair is brought to you by Bastion Tire Sales. At Bastion's, you're riding on our good name. Bastion Tire Sales in Bloomsburg, Shamokin Dam, and Williamsport, and by the 1991 Bloomsburg Fair Board.
Hello, we're back here on the bumper cars, one of my favorite rides at the Bloomsburg Fair. You know, not all the rides these days have to be high-tech to be fun. Here on the Midway, you'll find all kinds of things to do. But one of the favorite attractions this year doesn't involve electronics. It involves normal, everyday civilians getting their own chance to face off against Saddam Hussein. Newswatch 16's Fred Lettieri shows you what I mean.
You do not have to be in the military to take your best shot at Saddam Hussein or any other political figure, past and present. This portable battlefield, complete with Scud missiles, is actually a game called Operation Sting, patterned after Operation Desert Storm. It's a chance for everyday civilians to let out their frustrations with paintballs, a good aim, and some imagination.
It's appropriate right now, but in about a year or two, if things die out, if things settle down in the Middle East, we may have to change the theme. What may be a country western or an outer space.
The only prize players get is the satisfaction of splattering the political figure that really gets on their nerves.
At night, people get to shoot at 2 live targets. That's right, 2 people dressed up as Richard Nixon and Saddam Hussein.
I was aiming for that Bert doll. It's back in the back, and this guy, right, that has a big nose.
By far, Saddam is the favorite target here. Why were you aiming at Saddam Hussein?
Because he's an idiot.
One complaint people do have about the game, no matter how many times they manage to hit Saddam, it just keeps on coming back for more. Fred Lettieri, Newswatch 16 at the Bloomsburg Fair.
I think I figured out one of the reasons the Bloomsburg Fair is so popular. If I can slow this thing down, because you get to act like a kid again. I mean, where else can you go and have so much fun? And as I try to get out of this thing, we'll turn it over to Newswatch 16. Jill Garrett shows you some of the new rides at the fair this year.
So much to see, so little time. But aren't the rides the same from year to year anyway? No.
This year here at the Bloomsburg Fair, I think we have 9 brand new rides, about $3 million in equipment.
We're in the children's area, so we decided to find an expert. Tell me your name.
Missy.
Missy, what rides did you like? What were you on?
That and all the other rides.
Oh, yeah? Which did you like the best?
That one.
What's that one?
The merry-go-round.
One of the new attractions this year is the carousel. Now, each horse on this is valued at $8,000. They're made of plexiglass, but they're painted like the old wood-carved models. From there, we went over to the tomahawk. First, I made sure that the girls behind us had strong stomachs, and then it was up, up. Wow, it's way up there.
What are you closing your eyes for?
See no evil, feel no evil. And speaking of see no evil, there was also the Nightmare Dark Ride. Oh, yeah. there's always the old favorites like the slide. Why don't you come along? Wow, on distance.
Well, we have come full circle here at the Bloomsburg Fair. We've taken you on a tour and introduced you to a lot of interesting people, and hopefully you've learned a few things and had as much fun as we have. I'll tell you, Newswatch 16 has already started to plan for next year's coverage of the Bloomsburg Fair. We certainly hope you and your family are starting to plan to come out and meet us. And before we go, I think I'm going to do one more thing, and that's get some French fries here. I'd like one, please, with lots of vinegar. These are some of the best French fries at the Bloomsburg Fair.
Right.
Ah, they look delicious. Thank you very much. And as I put a little vinegar on my fries, we're going to leave you now with some of the different sights and sounds of the Bloomsburg Fair. And again, thank you so much. I'm Craig Jahelka. See you next summer.
Let's go flip that chick. Close but no cigar.
Hey, this one's easy right here. Check it out. All you got to do is take 2 balls and put it in the basket. 2 in wins every time.
Hey, guy, you ready? Hey, just bust one here, you win.
Hey, you got to be a player. Come on in, give it a shot. 2 balls for $1. You put it in, I'll give you choice. Any prize in the house, you can't beat the price.
How old are you? 64, take a prize, take a prize. 64 years, we both together, take a prize. What?
Good, wrap it around the whole time.
Hello,